Rasika, welcome. I'm so happy that you could join us on the show that we're calling Class Act, because I really feel that that describes you so well. This is a show that where we're talking to actors who are incredible actors who've been working tirelessly and mostly quietly, but who are having a moment right now. And I feel that that's exactly true in your case. You've been working for about 10 years. You've done some incredible work, but it feels like the work is really popping in this moment. I feel like Chutney, the short film that you made, was the starting point. Since then, there's been Mirzapur, there's been Manto, that appearance in Maiden Heaven, and of course Delhi Crime, which sort of tops it. In the middle, of course, there was Hamid. It just feels like all of the hard work is fructifying. Do you feel like there's been a breakthrough moment for you? Do you feel like this is a sort of breakout moment?
Well, all the work has come out together.
Right.
But for me, I think doing each one of these was a breakout moment for me. And I always felt like Manto or Chutney or Mirzapur or Hamid and Delhi Crime, of course. I felt that they were very special for a variety of reasons. And the moment I signed on to those projects, I felt like that was my breakout moment, and in fact, I always feel like that about anything I sign on.
Sure, it's just that these turned out to be things that were watched more than a lot of the other films.
That's true.
You made Kissa, beautiful film, and we'll talk about that. You made Share. You've done work which was very good, but which didn't necessarily travel. But it feels like all of this has just popped.
That's true. And actually, I felt it very strongly when Kissa had come out. Up until that point, I was happy to keep doing the work that I was doing. But after Kissa, I really felt that I want to now share this work with as many people as I can. And I really felt the loss of that at that time. And actually with Manto also a little bit, I felt that it could have been released better, it would have got the audience, and there is an audience for it. Now it's online on Netflix and every day I get a message about it, and a lot of people have been watching it. But I felt that when it had its theatrical release, not as bad as Kissa, but I felt that it could have been better. But with the digital space, I think really with Mirzapur and with Delhi Crime, I think I'm really beginning to enjoy sharing my work with a wider audience.
Was there then a conscious decision to go after work that will be watched more, that will travel?
No. I try and think like that, but I can't. I can't help myself. It's just the nature of the work becomes more compelling than anything else. So it's always been like that, and I try. In fact, I keep thinking that I keep reminding myself that you're going to do this work and it better be viewed well. But I can't in my selection process become like that.
Right, you said you can't strategize at all. It's not your strength.
Hopeless.
Well, Chutney sort of happened, and I remember watching Mirzapur, and I remember. I think we can talk about it. I feel like it's been on Amazon Video for a while now. So. The opening scene, the time that your introduction scene is that scene where you're in this intense sex scene with Pankaj Tripathi, and I remember going, "Whoa, that's not how you expect to see Rasika Dugal." Was that one of the things that also drew you to it? The fact that, and then the character that you play, she of course is the wife of this crime don, Kalin Bhaiya, Beena Tripathi. She sort of unravels as the film, as the show progresses. Was that what drew you to it? The fact that she's unlike what you've done before, and the fact that she's someone who normally one wouldn't associate you to even sort of play?
Yes, that was the biggest reason for me to do that part, and also because it was a kind of physicality that people had not imagined me in, and I hadn't had an opportunity to explore.
Correct.
And possibly a little bit of it in Chutney. I mean, she's a little coquettish, this girl in Chutney, but Beena, I think, takes that to another level.
She does,
And I didn't know how it was going to transpire for me. I didn't know whether this is something that I could pull off or not. But I remember feeling very, very excited about the part when it was offered to me. In fact, so much so that it was so different from what I had been offered before that I almost felt that, I hope these guys haven't got it wrong and they don't change their mind. So every time I went to meet Karan, I was like, should I be looking sexier? Because he might just decide.
Because she actually wears her sexuality on her sleeve.
Yes,
she's someone who uses that.
Very aware of it. And also, what I really like about her is she's not I feel like when I was reading the part, I felt like when she enters a room, she kind of demands a certain attention.
That's right.
Not because she's drop dead gorgeous, or not, but there's something about her.
Yeah,
you look at her,
right.
And I am just the opposite of that. I'm like one good Mr. Cellophane hanging around until I don't tell people about myself. Nobody would notice me.
You've actually said you're very shy and you're not used to putting yourself out there.
I think, no, I'm friendly.
Right.
And I'm genuinely excited about people. But yes, I do find it hard to just mingle or go to a party. And I can be very friendly with people when I associate with them through my work.
Correct.
That I find very easy. Right. But without the work, I find it a little hard.
Right. Do you feel like it's going to be interesting, or that it's going to be a challenge now to revisit her and to not sort of project onto her what people feel about her, or what the audience sort of, kind of to wipe out that slate, at least in terms of what the responses have been, and just to play her as she is on the page and as she was sort of conceived?
So I've been thinking about this a lot because I'm going to start shooting soon, and I kept thinking at first that now I have to wipe the slate clean. I can't think about what other people have said or what I feel about her after I watched her, as opposed to what I felt about her when I was being her. So I was like, no, I have to get this done. And I think I'm beginning to think that might not be the correct way to go.
Okay.
I think it might just be okay to accept this as a reality and say that this is it. I'll take whatever I remember.
Right.
And I will, and anyway the script is there, and I trust the script,
right?
And I'll trust the script.
Correct. That's the map.
It doesn't matter whether I remember something that people have said or not, or what I felt when I watched or not. I think maybe accepting it, because this is the reality.
Right.
This is how it is.
Right.
Accepting it might be more useful. I don't know. Let's see.
Sure. The other really terrific performance I thought was Manto, and I'm clearly not alone. I mean, the unanimous response has been incredible to Safia Manto, who of course was the silently suffering wife of Sadat Hasan Manto, the great author and the poet. A woman who is married to a man who clearly saves most of his attention for his characters, and is clearly is clearly ignoring the wife.
सारी हमदर्दी अपने किरदारों के लिए
correct रखते हैं. What was it like getting into her head, especially because so little is known about her through his writings?
Actually, it was much easier than I had imagined, and I just felt that also when too much is written about a character, it sort of becomes more difficult to be that person, because people come to watch it with their own aspirations and their own imagination of Manto, for instance. So I felt Nawaz had a much harder job. He had a reputation to live up to. I had none. I could do it like I wanted to. Safia was not known. Not Nawaz's reputation, but Manto's reputation. So that way I felt that my job was much easier. Plus I knew that Nandita wanted to do something with this part, and that was clear to me from the time that I had met her. Otherwise, on paper, she might not have seemed that compelling to somebody who reads that script.
True.
But I knew that she wanted to do something. Also, I felt that this was finally a part which helped me give respect to the women I grew up with, and that I think really moved me. I felt very because I felt that my grandmother, my mother, and many other women who I grew up with were people who gave a lot and didn't expect anything in return, and weren't given the respect that they deserved. And in a very non-judgmental way. I mean, either there were people who were just taking everything that they did for granted, or there were people who were telling them to be a different way, to sort of break out of traditional roles and do something different, and judging them on that. And when I went to college and I was a fiery feminist, I am a fiery feminist, and for a bit I think I judged them too, and I think I felt a lot of guilt about that
while playing this role. That's beautiful.
Before that, I think I'd already sort of, and I really wanted to, this became, and I hadn't really thought of it like that, but when we shot it, I felt like this became my way of respecting that, respecting the way that they
were. It's a lovely thought, Didn't you get this part without auditioning, without trying for it? Apparently you offered to, and Nandita had seen Kissa and she just felt you'd be perfect for it. You've actually said, it's amazing in this industry sometimes you keep trying for certain things and they never work out, and then some miracles just sort of fall into your lap.
Yeah.
Is that how you saw it?
Yes. Kissa was a miracle, Manto was a miracle. It just fell into my lap. And both came at a time when I think I really needed the work. And I was really beginning to get into a slump where I was like, I don't know where my next piece of work is going to come from. Maybe this is a time to try and explore other things, not other than
You've
acting.
had those moments?
Yeah. Not for a while, thankfully.
Right. I can't imagine that you would now.
But I think pre-Kissa, yes. I think that was really a phase where I didn't have much. And that was in between Kshay and Kissa.
Right.
So I hadn't done much work for a while, and I'd really begun to feel that. And these two were really dream projects in terms of co-actors, in terms of directors, in terms of scripts. So they were really something that I needed then.
Yeah. Let's talk about Kissa, and I feel terrible that that's a film that not enough people have watched. And I really want to say it's now streaming on Hotstar, so you do have an opportunity to seek it out and watch it. It's an incredible film. I remember actually watching it at the Abu Dhabi Film Festival because it barely played here. That's right.
I remember that.
It's this incredible story of this young girl who's raised as a boy because her father can't have a son and is determined to have a son. So he raises her all her life as a boy. At one point, he gets her married off to a character, which is the character that you play. And what I thought was lovely is that it's both tragic and yet beautiful, because that relationship between Kanwar, which is the character that Tilotoma plays, and Neeli, which is the character that you play, is so beautiful. They find a sort of a friendship, a tentative kind of relationship, even after Neeli discovers the truth about her. What was it like making that film? And there are many points in that film where you have to just sort of make a leap, a leap of faith. Even as a viewer, you have to go with, I'm not giving away too much because really I feel like people should discover that film. What was it like making that film, and did you always believe that that some of these things which seem on paper or to listen to improbable would translate on screen?
Actually, the bit that the film goes into a very magic realism space, that part when I read it, I was like, I knew Anup from FTI. He taught me for a bit at the Film Institute. So I read that bit and I was like, oh, Anup. This is so Anup. And that's all I remember thinking about it. And then I was like, I don't know how this can be performed.
Yeah.
I have no idea. And I didn't till we were shooting it. But I think that really that there were a few scenes there in which Neeli and Irfan's character, Irfan and me are together in a couple of scenes, and those were in that space.
True.
And I was like, I don't know my way around this because this cannot be logical. This has to be something else, and I don't know how to do that. And one scene in particular, which is the one right before, I won't say what, but it's the second last scene of the film. And we shot that once and it was absolutely dead. There was nothing in the scene. And I remember looking helplessly at Irfan because I was like, I just went and sat there and looked at him. I was meaning to say that you have more experience than me. I really have to get this right. Can you please do something? And he just looked at me and said, I don't have an answer.
Find your own way.
So that happened, and I was trying to come to terms with the idea that, okay, fine, it's not gone as well as the other scenes have. But Anup called me a few days later and he said, listen, I want to reshoot that scene. Are you okay with that? And those were my days off. I was like, I'm more than okay, I'll come now. But let's get this right. And I came with extreme anxiety. I was like, we've done it once and I can't be, on a low budget film, be shooting a scene again and not get it right. He said, listen, just calm down. Just come. So I went to set and Anup just changed one gesture and Irfan just added one thing, one gesture, and where he just holds my hand. And it just transformed. We did 8 takes because it was a technically difficult. And each one of those 8 takes was something which was so bizarre that no amount of experience would have led to me being able to plan this out before that scene. It was just the most beautiful thing I have experienced in the time between action and cut. And I don't think I've ever experienced anything so special again.
I think I know what scene you're talking about, and it's crucial and it's sort of beautifully done, because there's so much meaning to it, right? from that, let's talk about from a film that nobody watched to a show that everybody's talking about, which is Delhi Crime, of course. It's the show that every single person seems to have watched and seems to have loved. And I was telling Shefali the other day, those that haven't watched it because they've heard about it. They haven't watched it because they don't think they can
stomach it.
They can stomach it. You, of course, play Neeti Singh, who's a freshly...
From Neeli to Neeti.
From Neeli to Neeti. She's a freshly minted IPS officer. She's someone who the DCP, Vartika Chaturvedi, takes sort of takes under her wing and kind of entrusts her with a very important responsibility, which is to comfort and stay with the family of the victims, because she sees in her the potential. She's gone from someone who's trying to impress the DCP to someone who wins her trust and wins her faith, and then carries on a very important sort of role. What was it like playing that part, and did your own feelings about the actual case, the Nirbhaya case, sort of weigh in on your performance, on your approach to this character?
I think it helped, because I think I really wanted to be a part of this story, because I somewhere felt it was assuaging my guilt of not doing enough at that time and for moving on too quickly. And I felt like it was my way of dealing with that. So, of course, whatever I felt about the case was there. But yes, from a different perspective, from the perspective of a cop, an IPS officer who's in training, who really wants to change the world. And
she comes with that hope and that idealism.
That idealism, which was so lovely. I think that's what really attracted me to the guy. She reminded me of how I was in college.
And,
she
before the cynicism steps in, before you see the real world.
Before you feel like, oh yeah, you're so excited about this, but oh no, I shouldn't be. Before all of that happens. So she did remind me of a little bit of how I was in LSR, and I think I was very happy to go back to that really explore that idealism. And I think that was more my focus when I was playing that part. The need to impress her, the idealism, wanting to do your job well. And I think the script sort of took care of the rest. And then where the character goes happens to you automatically.
Are you setting sort of new rules for yourself, or trying now? You said that you can't strategize, but do you feel like there is a manner that you'd like to steer the career, or have you realized that that's just impossible to do oneself?
No, what I'm beginning to feel strongly now is that I want to do a part which is really driving the narrative. And I think even though the parts that I've done have been very beautiful and interesting, that hasn't been the case, except for with Kshay and with Kissa also maybe. But with Kshay it was only about this woman's obsession, and a character driven script also. So not plot driven at all. So I'm really itching to do that now. I
central
think.
Parts, There's incredible work that you put out right from Kshay, to be able to sort of carry that film. I mean, what happens to it is not in one's control, but the manner in which you carried that, or even Kissa, which I think is a beautiful character, because I would imagine it's hard to wrap one's head around that kind of person, that kind of person who makes that choice, knowing what she knows and knowing, and even after she knows what she knows.
But I enjoyed her so much.
She was quite lovely. You actually heart went out to her, and the manner in which they found that sort of
because
love.
She's so, like somebody said in a review, feral. And I thought that was very lovely.
That's a lovely way to put it. And then sort of the Mirzapurs and Manto, because Safia is just really the character that you take back with you after Manto. So thank you for these wonderful, incredible performances that have sort of moved us. And I feel like some of these are characters that are going to stay with us for a long time. Thank you for incredible work. Looking forward to lots more. Here's hoping that this really is the turning point for many big exciting things.
So too.
I feel like there's also you're having a moment, but popular Hindi cinema is also having a moment. So hopefully we'll see you in some exciting work, and in any case, I mean, we're just enjoying what you're doing. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Looking forward to lots more.
Thank you.